Good morning, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Footballtribeug channel. Always a pleasure to have you. Welcome back on this episode of the live broadcast for Tuesday morning sport. For Tuesday morning sport, um, let's let's uh let's get into the conversation. Really, let's get into the conversation. But it's a pleasure to be back. Always good to have you. I want to say thank you to all our members that did join us in last night's broadcast. There, we did kick off the broadcast at about 11 p.m. already. But thank you for all those that were able to be with us. Much appreciated for the love and support. And then I also want to send my shout outs to all our new community members, those that just recently subscribed. Welcome back to the community. Welcome to the Football Tribe community. It's a pleasure, really, to have you join our community. Thank you for the love. Thank you, Team India. Thank you, Team India, so much. Allow me to respond to some messages here. Uh, yes, as I wait for all of you to join the broadcast, mm, perhaps the first one is one of those going to that we are watching and following. Anyways, guys, where do we even start the conversation? There's plenty to talk about, but I think we should start with the frustration that continues amongst Arsenal fans over what they deem to be a slow transfer business from their club. I, I mean, I sort of understand because basically this is premised on the fact that their competitors or the teams that they sort of tend to rival for the same players with, or the kind of teams that they think they want to compete with in the Premier League and beyond are making transfer deals and are getting deals over the line. I think that's where majority of the frustration is emanating from. So, but but I also want to sort of defend the club in one way or the other. To say that it's what they have done is not inexcusable, really, to be honest. The transfer window only opened for the first 10 days, and it does close today, by the way. That's because primarily, ordinarily, it wouldn't be open at this time. And because Arsenal are not going to be part of the FIFA Club World Cup, they felt no rush to try and do business. They do not want to do rush deals if they feel that they can still negotiate a lower fees, transfer fees for certain players that they are trying to pursue. And that's just what it is. For example, um, one of and the whole fuss about this work lack of business or slow business primarily emanates from the fact that Arsenal are yet to agree a deal for a striker. Now, like I said, if you're in Arsenal's shoes, you're not going to be part of the FIFA Club World Cup. There is no rush. The window reopens on June the 16th and runs until August. Now, I do understand that you want to sign players early before preseason. I think that will be the objective for Arsenal in regards to majority, if not their crucial business. Sign them before the start of your preseason, and then have those players sort of join the team and be sort of start training with the rest of the squad, gel in together, and you hope that maybe in an extra week or two, if you had any players that had extended, summer periods, be brought back in the fold. I do not think there will be any extended periods, unless those players had been injured, because Mikel Arteta he himself said you cannot sit 6 weeks, waking up to drink a margarita, order margaritas, and experience the sunshine on the beach. And that's why it is reported, widely reported, that players will be back early for the summer, transfer sort of camp. Now, this kind of camp is the kind of camp that they've done before, and I think they did it last summer because how they do it is in such a manner that the players are allowed to come with their families. So it's not like when they go off to pre-season and they are camped at a particular hotel and it's wake up, go to training, do your drills, return to the hotel, and then maybe there's an evening training session, then prepare for a game X, usually pre-season games as you all know them, and that kind of thing. So I think last year or prior to the start of last season, they had a similar camp in Juan Sebastian, that's in Spain. So I think they would look to have something similar where players go with their families, and usually they're doing these light drills to sort of keep them in shape so that when preseason officially begins, they're not all rusty. They're not picking up. They're not like sort of. They're not overly rested. If you get what I mean, in the sense of their fitness, that they can easily quickly pick up if there's any issues. It can be identified. Um, and that kind of assessment. So basically, players do light gym work, they do a bit of ball work here and there. According to Mikel Arteta, they weren't getting in depth of, tactical plays and that kind of thing. But then it also gives the manager a little bit more time to have his one-on-ones with the players to sort of guide them on the way he wants them to play. And we all know that at least we've had that right during his days at Manchester City and all the way through Arsenal. The way he's a good management coach, the way he handles like when it comes to a single individual, giving them all the information that they need to sort of thrive, how they ought to improve their play and that kind of thing. So with that borne in mind, I think that will sort of explain that. But as far as transfer business is concerned, I mean, I do not think we know all the transfer targets that Arsenal do have, because usually while you have some public information out there, there's always some secret name that you may not know about, or a deal that they're trying to pursue that you do not know about. Of course, recently there was a young kid, a Greek kid, a Greek young kid that was linked with a potential move to Arsenal. So, and he's only 17 years of age. And I remember reading a story, I think, where somebody was trying to explain the conundrum in which Arsenal finds itself to try and strike the balance between their primal targets in regards to what their needs are as of present day, but also making transfer business that sort of looks forward to the future in some form of way. And similarly to what we saw in the first phase of Arteta signings, the full signings where he was signing young players to come and be at the club for a longer spell. But at the moment, of course, it's known that I think that what he explains why Arsenal want Benjamin Sesko, because while he's still a developing player in comparison to the likes of Victor Gyökeres, and perhaps you could say in terms of where his numbers are in comparison to Hugo Ekitike, he's still a little bit behind. But when you look at his age profile, being 22, you're looking at more or less the future. You're looking at the next, 5-8 years at the club. Maybe if really, really smarts it, and you could have a potential revalue on that. And yet, when they look at Victor Gyökeres, let's say put him on a 4-year contract with an option to extend to further year. By the time that contract runs out, he will be 30, probably 31, and that kind of thing. And his resale value could have diminished. But that notwithstanding, I think Arsenal fans ought to be patient, a little patient with their club in regards to the negotiations. Yes, it is frustrating that, because usually the wonder is, how do Manchester City go in for a player? They're quickly to do negotiations and get a deal over the line, and boom, they've signed the player. How do Liverpool do it? Because I think we've partly seen it with Liverpool, but I do not know if Liverpool fans also share similar sentiments in this form of frustration with that of Arsenal, especially when it comes to particular deals. For example, we've had the topic of Florian Wirtz going on for weeks now, with an impending move to Liverpool. That deal has sort of not stalled, but I think, and I do not think it has gone on for too long, by the way. Why? Because only that it's been a primary focus for the media. It's been overly publicized, and maybe it is worth it in terms of the publication. But so that makes it feel like it's dragging on, because you keep hearing the same name, the same deal, same negotiations, and no deal yet. Personal terms on player side already agreed, but the clubs are yet to agree a final fee and that kind of thing. I want to hear from Liverpool fans, or I would be interested in hearing from Liverpool fans whether they do share similar sentiments in regards to the frustration. But backwards, I think the fans ought to be a little more patient. In essence, hi bro, how are you, Cristiano Sam? Good morning. Good to have you on the broadcast. Kindly do me the absolute favor and like this broadcast. But it's a pleasure to have you. Where are you joining us from, and what team do you support? You seem to be, by judging by your name, you seem to be an ardent fan of Cristiano Ronaldo, who we spoke about just yesterday and the other night in regards to being the GOAT. Anyways, pleasure to be with you. So I think as far as Arsenal fans are concerned, while I do understand their frustration, because you're looking at teams like Chelsea. Chelsea have so far signed three players in this window. They're looking to sit it down for a goalkeeper. They're looking to sit it down for a goalkeeper. That is Mike Maignan from AC Milan. They're looking to complete other deals. I know they are into negotiations for Hugo Ekitike. That all aside, because they did sign Liam Delap, they've signed Mamadou Sarr, that is the 19-year-old French centre back from Strasbourg. That deal is good as done. Then also they're letting out some players go. Marcus Bettinelli is joining Manchester City as their third choice goalkeeper from Chelsea. I do not know what the transfer fee is there. And then Jadon Sancho, of course, has returned to Man United. They're looking to move on plenty of players. But you see, how many out of every 10 players Chelsea have signed in the recent couple of years, especially 3 years, how many of those have been great success? How many are they starters in that team? I mean, you couldn't do this sample space, because it looks like for every position they will sign 3 or 4 players, and only one of them will be a success, and not the ultimate success, by the way, but a fairly reasonable success. We've spoken about their goalkeepers and the numbers they do have in there. While they had 8 goalkeepers on their roster, they are in the market for an AC Milan goalkeeper. So you ought to, yes, I do understand that signing players is a bet. You take a gamble that this player has been successful here, or has shown great signs of progress, or he's turns out to be a promising player. Let me sign them, and perhaps they could be the next sensation. That's the objective, of course. That's the thought process that goes around this. And then you sign them and they do not work out. But you look at their backline. They did sign a player like Mbalangsa, Axel Disasi. All those have not worked out, And some of the players that have really worked out is Levi Colwill, Wesley Fofana. Wesley Fofana does struggle with injuries. Fitras Ali. Hi, Fitras Ali. How are you doing, my brother? Good to have you on the broadcast. I kindly like the broadcast, but it's a pleasure to be with you. Fitras Ali. Are you from India? Just guessing, but correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you're from Pakistan? Yes. Good to have you. Good to have you. How is Pakistan? How is that place? How is the climate, the environment as of this morning? But it's a pleasure to have you. So in that respect, you ought to then understand why maybe some clubs take longer to do their business. Like I said, in explanation to the delay of Benjamin Sesko's deal is Patrice Ali, I think I'm seeing you here for the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I could be seeing you here for the first time. Can you do me the absolute favor and like this broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. Do you see Ronaldo pocketed Lamine Yamal? Aha, okay. I wouldn't say pocketed, but I would say he got the better of him because I do not know. There was a lot of speech in the build up to that final between Portugal and Spain. I do not know if majority of it came from Lamine Yamal or there was a bit of sensationalism. I think a 17-year-old wanted to get one over a 40-year-old, and if there's one thing that players like Cristiano Ronaldo love, it's a challenge. They love a challenge. They love a challenge, and he couldn't have been more spot on in winning that trophy for Portugal because uh, he will learn. He learned a lesson that do not challenge your father. I think, yeah. Ultimately, he learned a lesson. But Cristiano Ronaldo had some kind words for him there in the aftermath of that game, saying he is a young player, very talented, will win so many trophies, both collectively, but also many accolades as an individual. And he did say, and he also did speak in reference to the media, not to put so much pressure on him, to let him be, he's still a child, and that kind of thing. So I think when Cristiano Ronaldo looks back at his young self at the age of 17 at Sporting Lisbon, he sort of sees Lamine Yamal in some way or shape. And that bit of immaturity, of course, you want to be in one way the talking point because of your dribbling skills, because of your space and that kind of thing. Goal and celebrate it as much as you can. In that respect, I think that partly explains it. But yeah, I would say Ronaldo got one over him. But for him, you will have plenty more opportunity to go on and do things. You are so sweet and beautiful. I hope you will become famous. I want to go, but I think you will be famous. Most kind guy I've ever met. Thank you so much, Patrice Ali. Thank you so much for the kind comments. It's been a pleasure having you. But before you sign out on the broadcast, please endeavor to leave us a like on that broadcast. But also, if you've not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. But thank you so much for your feedback and for your contribution to this discussion of morning sport. And thank you for sort of taking us a little bit back to that final in particularly to the talking points of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lamine Yamal that did revolve around the final. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. So, anyways, guys, going back to maybe let's go wind it up with the frustration over transfers. I mean, I think because to be honest, Man City, because they are going to be at the FIFA Club World Cup, they've already concluded 3 deals. That's for Ryan Achnery. They've concluded Tijani Reinders. They've concluded that is Ryan Cheki. That deal was completed yesterday in the excess of 35 million euros with 5 expected in add-ons and that kind of thing. So we really have we've seen that they move quickly in the market, and yet we are talking about a team that spent in the excess of 200 million euros in the January transfer window to sign Kushanov. That's the Kazakhstan centre back. To sign Nico Gonzalez, the Spanish midfielder from AFC Porto. To sign Omar Mamouche, quite expensively. To sign Vita Reyes from Palmeiras. That's the 19-year-old defender. So they did that and sealed it in January, and yet it comes to the summer transfer window, and they are one of the quickest to do business. But like I explained, now Manchester City are in a different phase. We all saw what they were last season. They were below their own standards in terms of performance, in terms of delivery. So they missed Rodri in that midfield. So they needed some to revamp. They are losing, players that have been there for a while. Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne, after a decade, he's leaving. Ilkay Gundogan is no longer the top player he was. In fact, Man City will be open to letting him go, despite having extended his contract for an extra year. the likes of John Stones, Jack Grealish is being moved on. Newcastle are interested, but could be just on loan. Everton are interested in him. So really, they're looking to move them on. You look at Kyle Walker, he's definitely leaving the club. Pep Guardiola confirmed just as much. So that's why they are looking to sign Tino Livramento from Newcastle as the choice for a right back and that kind of thing. So they're in a phase of a rebuild. Now, as they are in a phase of rebuild, they do not have much of a rest summer to, sit back and try to slowly do their business and to prepare for pre-season because they're participating in the FIFA Club World Cup. So that sort of rushes their hand. And remember, some of their players are going to be left out of that squad because they expect them to leave the club. So they do not want them to be a part of that, a tournament. And then that meant that they needed to sign players that can be part of that, but also quickly start the rebuild. And that's why you have those deals, as good as that. Ryan Ashnori being unveiled yesterday, but we do know everything is done in as far as Tijani Murienda is concerned. He will be announced soon. Ryan Cheki did fly yesterday to the UK for his medical after a deal was agreed between Lyon and Man City that already agreed to personal terms and that in that sort of way. So it's quite interesting that we are even having this conversation. But Arsenal fans, I'll say to you, be patient. I think things will fall in place at the right time. They will fall in place at the right time. I think Arsenal will get a striker, whether it is Benjamin Sesko, whether it is Victor Gyökeres, who Manchester United have entered the rest for. And according to Ben Jacobs of Team Sport, he does reveal that Victor Gyökeres would be open to a move to Manchester United, regardless of their lack of European football, contrary to what had been earlier on widely reported that he would prefer to play UEFA Champions League football. I think he's attracted by the opportunity, maybe the promise in terms of good wages, but also to reunite with his former manager, a person that trusted him to get him out of Coventry City and take him to Sporting CP, where he has a thrive. I mean, he scored so many goals. I was listening to his numbers: 98 goals in 102 appearances, like goal contribution for goals and assists. I mean, that's quite incredible, regardless of what you may think of being, and I've had this debate of, the Portuguese league being lesser of a league as compared to, let's say, the other top leagues in European football. As that still does not guarantee success. I mean, you had Claudio Pizarro join Chelsea back in 2007, I think, from Bayern Munich, and while he was smacking it there in the German Bundesliga, he failed to smack it at Chelsea, and he ended up returning back to Germany, where he was a success. He went to Werder Bremen on loan, and then eventually Werder Bremen signed him permanently, and from there he rejoined, Bayern Munich. So just because you come from a top league, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be a success. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to come and be a success. We all remember Ander Herrera, quite a very impressive player at Athletic Bilbao. So much so that Manchester United were impressed and they signed him. But when you look at the Ander Herrera that we watched at Athletic Bilbao, I do not think he achieved the same heights at Manchester United. So it does happen that you sign a good player from even a top league, and it is not an instant success. That you sign a player who is from a lesser league and then they thrive. Why are so many clubs signing players from Brazil, from Liverpool, from Argentina? Pound for pound, in comparison, you'd argue that maybe Premier League, Spanish La Liga are better leagues or bigger leagues than those, but they are trusting that we can go in lesser leagues and buy players for comparatively lower, transfer fees, and they be a success. So, Arsenal fans, I would say to you, please be patient. I trust that the Martin Zubimendi deal is as good as done from majority of reports. Trust that Kepa Arrizabalaga will be joining. It's quite a scoop for £5 million for a number 2 goalkeeper who has the Premier League experience, who is a winning goalkeeper, did win the UEFA Champions League 2024, as well as the Spanish La Liga with Real Madrid, where he had been on the season-long loan and that kind of thing. He just was a crucial part on Bournemouth's historical season, in which they had the biggest point tally in their top flight history, 56 points, I think finishing ninth on the Premier League club, but also defensively, they did concede very a few goals by sheer comparison to their own history. So you look at that measure and you're like, for number two goalkeeper, go push David Raya to be even an even better goalkeeper to what he already is. And then also he comes with the promise that him being a senior player that has been at that level for quite some time, never mind that he never lived to the expectations for which Chelsea signed him. They thought he could be the next David De Gea when they signed him from Bilbao for £72 million. That was back in 2018. Never mind that he's not lived to that expectation. But with his experience, you will trust that in cup competitions, he will be the mainstay, and the manager won't be sort of worried to say, okay, maybe we've now reached maybe the quarterfinals or the semi-finals. I need to swap you out and have David Raya back in. I think so. He will get more game time. I think he will get to be tested out during preseason, and they see what he's made of. Not that that will mean that he then replaces directly David Raya in goal, but that I think just to see if it does gel in with the rest of the squad to ease him into life. Anyways, let's move away from Arsenal fans and their frustrations and their worries. Of course, they are valid, but like I say, be patient with your team. The circumstances are different. I did explain for those of you that again did watch that Benjamin Sesko video and why they delay. I did labor to explain the financial bit of it. Sometimes clubs, start negotiating deals, but they do not want to get them over the line until a certain period of the year, because then that means a closure of one financial year period and the opening of the other, for which some deals they would want to write on the books of the new financial year, while for others it's not a thing. And then people with questions over Man City, let's not forget, over the last couple of years, Man City has been funneling out players. Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus have gone to Arsenal. João Cancelo was sold off. Riyad Mahrez was sold off. Those are some of the notable departures. The last summer they sold quite expensively Julian Alvarez, who they had bought cheaply, and that kind of thing. So while they were selling out so many players, if you look at their player intake, it was on the low. You go back to 2023, and they signed Matheus Nunes, they signed Jeremy Doku, I think they signed Savinho, and then you look at last summer. Was it last summer when they signed Savinho? I think it was last summer. But again, the player intake has been sort of a bit slower compared to what we've known, and then it is this year. That they've sort of went all in. They've sort of, because of what they've experienced during the course of the season, to say, okay, now I think we need to rebuild this project. And I think Pep Guardiola is trying to rebuild this project. Whether he will be there for much longer than we do anticipate is another whole different story. But I think he's trying to do what Jurgen Klopp did for Liverpool. You remember when Jurgen Klopp started losing his crucial players that had been part of the lengthy project that won the UEFA Champions League and the Premier League title, the Sadio Manes, the Roberto Firminos, the Fabinho in that midfield, Gini Wijnaldum, Henderson, and all those. So he started rebuilding, and he brought in McAllister, Szoboszlai, Ryan Gravenberch, and brought in Cody Gakpo, Diego Jota, brought in Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez. Now, guess what? Because they had lost the Divock Origi. Now, guess what? Those are the players that just helped Liverpool win the Premier League title under Arne Slot, because Jurgen Klopp had already started rebuilding the project, and it was in a good shape. So I think Manchester City will be looking to do something like that in that bid. So that is the expectation for me. Anyways, away from all that, away from Manchester City but those deals for Man City are as good as confirmed. Chelsea continue to push to sign Mike Maignan, that's the 29-year-old French number one goalkeeper at AC Milan, as their preferred choice for a goalkeeper. And then Thomas Frank will become new Spurs head coach. Here we go. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. Just 8 seconds. Thomas Frank to Tottenham Hotspurs is a here we go agreement done with the manager on contract terms and stuff. Yesterday we did reveal to you that he had already agreed personal terms with Tottenham Hotspurs, and discussions were ongoing about his coaching, composition, his coaching staff. Are revealing to you that every manager who walks through the door does make his own setup for a coaching team. So looks like an agreement with the manager on contract terms and stuff. Brentford is set to release Frank for a fee in the region of £10 million. Again, we've spoken widely or extensively about that £10 million as his exit clause. He's the replacement for Ange Postecoglou, who they did sack despite helping them win their first major trophy in 17 years. Whether you believe that Thomas Frank is the right manager remains to be seen. The other day we were speaking to a Tottenham fan, Kevinski, who and another one called Scott, who all did come into criticism of Daniel Levy, saying that he was more of a business-minded guy, accruing properties around London and then investing quite very little in the club. But it looks like Thomas Frank is going to be their manager. Speaking of Thomas Frank, 51 years of age, that's for the Danish manager. He did join Brentford as an assistant coach to Dean Smith. For those of you who do remember, Dean Smith also had a stint with Aston Villa. So that was back in December 2016. And then on October 16th, 2018, he was elevated to head coach after the club had part ways with Dean Smith. And for the last 6 years and 8 months has been the manager / head coach at Brentford, and he's done quite tremendously, really well. Guided them to a promotion into the Premier League that was back in 2021, and they've stayed up ever since. So quite impressive to see. But that deal is equally as good as done. So let's wait and see. Tottenham want to do some transfer business, but Atletico Madrid want to sign their defender in Christian Romero, but also Atletico Madrid want to sign Alex Baena as their preferred choice of a left winger from Villarreal, as well as midfielder Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis, who according to Real Betis want at least 40 million euros if they are to let him go. For those of you that did watch the UEFA Conference League finals between Chelsea and Real Betis, you must have noticed Johnny Cardoso, a very, very decent midfielder in there. Then the other player that is making the rounds because he only has 1 year left to his contract is Gianluigi Donnarumma, who is being linked with the potential move to Real Madrid as a replacement, as a longer-term replacement for Thibaut Courtois. Only 26 years of age, he has only a year left to his contract, and we all know how Real Madrid these days do want to circle around players that have just a year left to their contract, and perhaps try to sign them or try to persuade them into seeing out the remainder of their contract and join them for a free. We've seen that with Kylian Mbappe and among other with Alexander Trent-Arnold and that kind of thing. So Gigi Donnarumma speaking about his future, he says, "My priority is to stay at Paris Saint-Germain and sign a new deal. I do not think there will be any issue or problem," he added. So it looks like the Italian goalkeeper is committed to staying, to continuing his career with Paris Saint-Germain. We've spoken about Marcus Bettinelli, about what, 33 years of age or so, or more, joining Manchester City as their third choice goalkeeper ahead of the FIFA Club World Cup. The expectation still remains that Ederson Morales could leave the club this summer, but if he does leave, then they do have Stefan Ortega to replace him as their number one as they look to the market. Speaking of goalkeepers, I do know that what's his name? I think James Trafford, the Burnley goalkeeper, is a target for a number of Premier League clubs. Really. Anyways, Bournemouth have also did agree a deal to sign Adrian Trafford, that is as the new left back. Why? Because they do expect that Milos Kakes will be soon heading to Liverpool, so they're already signing a replacement there from from the French from a French side. That's Adrien Trafford. So they do expect Milos Kakes to join Liverpool, and that's why they are running quickly in the market to get a replacement. They are yet to replace Dean Howson, who has since joined Real Madrid. When they activated his £50 million release clause for the Spanish young defender. There have been a couple of clubs trying to poach their manager in Andoni Iraola, but it looks like the Spanish gaffer will be staying. And then I think Tottenham Hotspurs want to sign Anton Semenyo from AFC Bournemouth. So keep your eyes out on that deal as well. They are not the only ones interested in Anton Semenyo, but let's wait and see where his destination ends up. But it looks like Bournemouth could lose a number of their key players. And let's not forget, last summer they did lose Dominic Solanke to the same Tottenham Hotspur side. And then some Saudi Pro League clubs, specifically Al Hilal, are circling around a potential deal for Benjamin Sesko, but we do understand the player prefers to continue his development in Europe and may not be tempted by any financial motives whatsoever to go to the Saudi Pro League. So okay, like I spoke in last night's broadcast, I find that remote thought that he would consider going to the Saudi Pro League over, and yet he just last summer signed a new contract with RB Leipzig under the motivation that he does continue his development with RB Leipzig. Then Fabian Ruiz is a target for Al Nassr, but he's an important or crucial part of Luis Enrique's side at Paris Saint-Germain. I do not think they will be looking to let him go just yet. That's for the 29-year-old Spanish midfielder. And then Leroy Sané is expected to be part of Bayern Munich's squad for the FIFA Club World Cup, even though his future with the club is yet to be resolved because he is yet to accept that new deal on his table. And then Manchester United keep on calling for Victor Gyökeres. Like I said, the player does have a good relationship with his former manager in Ruben Amorim, and we all know that Manchester United are in the market for a striker. Evans Edit says, "Yo, good to have you back, my brother, Eva Edit. Good to have you back. It's been a while since we've last had you on here. I hope you're doing well. How is life treating you? Hope it's being kind to you. But it's a pleasure to have you back. Do us the usual absolute honor and click press that like on this broadcast. But welcome back to the channel. Really. So, where am I from? I'm from Kampala, Uganda. Thanks for asking. Where are you from, my brother? Where are you from yourself? So, Man United do hope, but they're not the only ones interested. Arsenal made their inquiries dating to as far back as May. Then Juventus and Al Hilal are the other parties that have also made contact with the player in the pursuit to try and sign Victor Gyökeres, who turns 27. You're doing a great work. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Evers Edits. I hope I pronounce your name well. Evers Edits. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, really, to have your feedback. I do appreciate that a great deal. So that's one of the deals to really watch across the entire spell. I think United have, by the way, higher chance of signing Victor Gyökeres than most clubs, because when you're two clubs going to pitch him, and even when you're in great position and you're Juventus, maybe Juventus would also have a good hand in this because they do want to lose Dusan Vlahovic. You're thinking to yourself, that relationship with his former manager will simply be, look here, I know the team I'm at, we're not in good shape, but it is a big club without a doubt. We're going to pay you good wages, but more importantly, you know my system, you know how I want to play, you know how you're going to be my main man, you're going to be, the leader in all this and that kind of thing. And they'll run with that. And I think it will be impressive, really impressive to see. And it will be, I get the feeling that Ruben Amorim will be successful in that kind of pitch, because he's worked with the player before. He was telling him, I took you from Coventry, let me take you from Sporting Lisbon and even make you a greater success in as far as football is concerned. This time around, let's do it at Manchester United. So basically, that's what it will be. Then let's move away. Then Clement Lenglet and Barcelona did terminate their contract on mutual agreement. He's staying at Atletico Madrid on a permanent transfer. Looks like Atletico Madrid gets, a free player there. Then let's run away to Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich are interested in signing a winger, a left winger, and now the number one priority is Bradley Barcola. But should that deal fail, then they will turn to Nico Williams, over whom they've had, numerous conversations. They are well aware of his release clause that is in the region of 60 million euros. However, the sticking point is his wages, because he earns around 7 to 8 million euros as a net pay, which has been quite, putting off a lot of other suitors, the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, as well as Liverpool. Then the other members on that shortlist is Rafael Leao, who is also a target for Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League, as well as Brighton's Kaoru Mitoma. So, but we all know that Arsenal has also been linked with at least most of those players as well. Actually, all of them, Nico Williams, Bradley Barcola in recent days, we all know about the links with Rafael Leao and Kaoru Mitoma, because they do search for a left winger, but they're also interested in a right winger. So let's keep our eyes peeled on those deals as well for Bayern Munich. So again, let's look at the transfer gossip as of this morning, June the 10th, and see where it does lead us, and see if yes. Then Manchester City's England winger Jack Grealish is being lined up as a potential replacement for 22-year-old German midfielder Florian Wirtz if he leaves Leverkusen. That's according to the Sun. Then Swedish striker Victor Gyökeres is furious at his club Sporting Lisbon, who have gone back on a gentleman's agreement that the 27-year-old could leave this summer for £60 million. Now, there have been reports coming out of Portugal that Victor Gyökeres is furious with Sporting Lisbon. Apparently, they had a gentleman's agreement that at the end of this season, he can leave for a fee. Guys, please like the broadcast. Please like the broadcast. But also, if you're new here, also consider subscribing to the channel and help me grow. Anyways, that there was a gentleman's agreement between him and the club that at the end of the season, they can let him leave for 70 million euros at least. And according to reports, it's being reported that Sporting Lisbon has been quoting a higher figure for his suitors in the excess of 80 million euros. So that's why he's apparently furious with his club. Whether those reports have any truth to them, we'll find out, because time will reveal that. Then Manchester City, we've spoken about them agreeing a 34 million pound deal for Lyon playmaker, that's Ryan Cherki, while Arsenal are keen. We've spoken about Kepa Arrizabalaga really in his pending move to Arsenal. Then Burnley have valued their French centre-back Maximin Estevez 23 at £50 million amid his interest from Bayern Munich, who are among the ex-Clarets boss, who are managed by the ex-Clarets boss, Vincent Kompany. So Vincent Kompany knows Maxime Esteve quite too well, having managed the club in the 2023-2024 season, that is in the Premier League, after having earned them promotion in the earlier season of 2022-2023. So then, Paris Saint-Germain's 22-year-old French winger Bradley Barcola is Bayern Munich's top target for a new winger. We've spoken about that. While Nico Williams, again, is the immediate alternative, but Rafael Leao as well as Kaoru Mitoma are the others on that shortlist. While PSG, one for the mouth is Eli Zabani, but the Cherries are demanding for £59 million for the 22-year-old Ukraine centre-back. Yes, Zabani is a target for Paris Saint-Germain. And I think he's one of those that would do, which I think will be I wouldn't want to call it a huge setback. Of course, it will be good transfer business for the club that want more money to, because they have plans to revamp their stadium. They want to expand it. I think it's what, a 15,000 seater. They want to elevate it by an extra 5,000 or even more, to about 22,000 seats. So for them to be able to finance that kind of rebuild, the way Liverpool expanded their stands is by unfortunately selling some of their prime players, but losing Dean Howson and his counterpart Zabani, the centre back pairing, in the same transfer window is never always a good sign. But that's what you get when you're a mid-table team like Bournemouth. Then Newcastle are keen on signing Ghanaian winger Muhammad Kudus. That's only 24 years of age, from West Ham. Now, reports did indicate that West Ham had offered Chelsea the opportunity to sign Muhammad Kudus, while Arsenal have suddenly been also brought back in the conversation, because both Chelsea and Arsenal were interested in his services before he left Ajax in 2023. And then West Ham are considering a swap deal with Chelsea involving Kudus, while the Hammers are prepared to let Morocco centre back Naif Agad leave this summer for 25 million pounds. Then Tottenham is one of the latest clubs to show interest in Red Bull Salzburg's Mali winger Douglas Nene, only 22 years of age. So there you have it. That's the transfer gossip from this morning. It's about 10 minutes past the hour of 10 a.m. It's been a pleasure having you guys. Thank you so much, Eva Edits. Thank you so much, Fatrus Ali. Thank you so much, Cristiano Sam, for being with us this morning, and for all those others that were in the background following the updates on this channel. It's always a pleasure having you. Let's do this again later tonight, late in the night. Let's speak transfers. Let's speak football news. I'll be back here later in the night, so do not miss out on that podcast. But more importantly, go to the channel and check out all our content. Under the videos section, under the shorts section, there's plenty of content out there for you to check out on. But it's been a pleasure having you. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.